We're over halfway into the 2024 MLB season, and it feels like the season just started yesterday. Teams like the Royals and Brewers have been surprisingly solid teams, while teams like the Rangers and Blue Jays have really underperformed so far. The clock is ticking on some of these slow starting teams, as front offices need to take a hard look at their roster and evaluate what direction to take their team in. In this video, I'm going to make 10 predictions for trades that I think will happen by the 2024 trade deadline. I'll be honest, these trades were incredibly tough to make due to how close the standings are right now. I don't have one specific criteria that I use to predict every trade, so I'll explain my thought process behind every prediction shortly. I made this video about a week before it getting posted, so all player stats will be slightly off. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The first trade that I predict will happen is Tyler Anderson to the Baltimore Orioles. When I initially wrote the script for this video, I predicted the Orioles trading for Jesus Luzardo. Since then, he's been placed on the 60-day injured list with a back injury and won't pitch again until at least September. I highly doubt the Marlins are going to trade him now. The Orioles definitely need to trade for a starting pitcher, specifically a left-handed one. They've had tons of injuries to their starting rotation, including losing John Means and Kyle Bradish for the rest of the season. Outside of Corbin Burns and Grayson Rodriguez, their third best starter is Cole Irvin, and I'm not sure they trust him to start a playoff game. Not to mention, they're in the midst of a tight division race with the Yankees and need upgrades if they want to win it. While Garrett Crochet of the White Sox is pretty clearly the best pitcher on the trade market right now, I don't think the Orioles are going to meet the gigantic asking price for him. Instead, there's another left-handed pitcher that is definitely available for a trade and won't cost as much. Of course, I'm talking about Tyler Anderson of the Angels. Anderson is in the second year of a 3-year, $39 million contract, and the Angels aren't going to compete for a long time. After a miserable 2023 season where he posted a 5.43 ERA, Anderson has posted an ERA of 2.81 this season and has already recorded 4.1 BWAR, the most of any season in his career. The Angels will be foolish not to trade him right now, as this is the highest his value will ever get and they aren't going to compete next season. While Anderson isn't the flashiest trade deadline ad, the Orioles seem reluctant to give up their top prospects, and I don't see them making a major move. Trading for Anderson will help them this season and next season, and they'll be able to keep all the guys they have in their long-term plan. I think this trade makes sense for both teams. The second trade that I predict will happen is Luis Rengifo to the Los Angeles Dodgers. In February of 2020, after trading for Mookie Betts and David Price, the Dodgers believed they had a surplus of outfielders and pitchers. Just hours after agreeing to the blockbuster with the Red Sox, they agreed to a big trade with the Angels. The deal sent Jock Peterson, Ross Stripling, and Andy Pajas to the Angels in exchange for Luis Rengifo. Angels owner Artie Moreno ultimately nixed the trade after getting impatient with the Dodgers for waiting to complete the deal until the Mookie Betts trade was official. Fast forward 4 years later, Jock Peterson helped lead the Dodgers to a World Series in 2020, Andy Pajas was just a top 100 prospect in baseball, and Luis Rengifo was one of the best utility players in the league. While the Dodgers are still one of the best teams in baseball, their 7 through 9 hitters in the batting order ranked 27th out of 30 teams in OPS. Not to mention, they've rotated second baseman and third baseman all season due to an injury to Max Muncy and the struggles of Gavin Lux. And now with Mookie Betts out until at least mid-August, they definitely need another infielder. Rengifo will provide them with the ability to play at any position on a given night, hit any type of pitching due to being a switch hitter, and steal bases with great speed. He's hitting .315 this season with 22 stolen bases and 800 OPS. Despite being on the injured list right now, the Angels should absolutely trade Rengifo by the trade deadline. He has 1 year left of arbitration before he hits free agency, where he would likely leave for nothing. He's playing the best baseball of his life right now and probably won't get much better from here on out. Not to mention, they're the only team in baseball with 0 top 100 prospects and desperately need more young talent. The Dodgers have a deep farm system where they could trade for Rengifo without making a dent in their talent pool. While the Dodgers will probably also trade for a pitcher, I think both of these teams match up well. I think this trade makes sense for both clubs. The third trade that I predict will happen is Jack Flaherty to the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians have been one of the best teams in baseball this season, and they definitely shouldn't take this success for granted. Knowing how cheap their ownership is and how they really make big trades, I would be shocked if they trade for a superstar. The biggest area they need to upgrade is the starting rotation. Their bullpen is the lowest ERA in baseball this season, and their offense is producing the third most runs per game. On the other hand, none of their 5 starting pitchers have an ERA under 3, and 2 of them have an ERA over 5. Without Shane Bieber this year, they definitely need to trade for someone who they can confidently start in a playoff game, and I think Jack Flaherty fits that bill. Flaherty's on a 1-year, $14 million contract with the Tigers, and he'll be a free agent at the end of the year. Since signing in Detroit, he's pitched better than he ever has. In 89 innings this season, he's posted a 3.24 ERA and 3.06 FIP while striking out 115 batters. He's in the 90th percentile or better in tons of advanced metrics and has been great in basically every aspect this year. The Tigers have slowly faded away after starting out the season strong, and I can't imagine they just let Jack Flaherty walk for nothing in free agency. While the Guardians and Tigers don't make too many trades together, I think a trade between the two clubs makes a lot of sense. The Guardians have 3 of the top 50 draft picks in this upcoming draft, including the first overall pick, so they'll easily replenish their system after making trades at the deadline. Flaherty's salary is also low enough where their ownership shouldn't have a problem taking on the entirety of it for the remainder of the year. If they want to compete for a World Series this season, they need to trade for a solid starting pitcher, and I think Flaherty makes sense. The fourth trade that I predict will happen is Brandon Drury and Carlos Estevez to the Seattle Mariners. I promise this is the last trade involving the Angels in my trade predictions, by the way. This trade isn't a blockbuster by any means, but I think the Angels and Mariners match up well as trade partners. The Mariners had a 10-game division lead at one point in June over the Astros, but that lead has shrunk to 2 games. It's pretty remarkable that they're in first place in the AL West, given that they don't have a single batter with an OPS over 750 on the team. Not to mention, the back end of their bullpen has been somewhat shaky outside of Andres Munoz. I've already talked about the Angels' struggles this season, but they do have some very attractive trade pieces that contenders will be calling about. While Brandon Drury has been hurt for most of this season and has really struggled when he's played, he posted an OPS over 800 in both 2022 and 2023, and can play third base, second base, and first base. That versatility is incredibly valuable for teams looking to make a run in the playoffs, and the Mariners need that more than almost any team. Their primary second baseman, Jorge Polanco, has posted an OPS under 600 this season, while their primary corner infielders, Josh Rojas and Ty France, have been below average. Drury's a free agent at the end of the season, so it shouldn't cost the Mariners much to acquire him. The Mariners also need help in their bullpen, so why not solve 2 problems with 1 trade? Carlos Estevez isn't the best reliever in the world by any means, but he's posted an ERA under 4 in 3 straight seasons and is consistently solid. He's pitched in a high leverage role the past few seasons, so the Mariners could easily plug him into the 8th inning before Munoz pitches the 9th. He's also a free agent at the end of the year and won't decimate the Mariners farm system in a trade. The Angels have no reason to keep either of these players, as I doubt either of them would want to stay in free agency. While division rivals don't make trades too often, I think a trade between the Mariners and Angels makes sense for both clubs. The 5th trade that I predict will happen is Garrett Crochet to the Milwaukee Brewers. Many people, including myself, thought the Brewers' window of contention closed when they traded Corbin Burnes this past offseason. With how the team has performed this season, I definitely was wrong. The Brewers' offense has been surprisingly great this year. Christian Yelich is having his best season since 2019, Willy Adames has had a solid year, and William Contreras is one of the best catchers in baseball. Not to mention, young players like Bryce Turang and Joey Ortiz have both been fantastic in their roles for the team. They're currently sitting pretty atop the NL Central, but have been decimated by injuries to the starting rotation this season. Freddie Peralta has been just okay this season, but he was expected to be much better. Colin Ray has been their best starter with an ERA just over 3, but I'm not sure how comfortable the Brewers are with him starting a playoff game. Besides Peralta and Ray, no other Brewer has made more than 11 starts this season, as they've had 12 pitchers start a game for them this year. While they do have some solid pitching prospects in the minor leagues, none of them project to be in the major leagues until mid to late 2025 at the earliest. As a result of all these factors, I think they'll be in the market for a controllable ace at the trade deadline. Garrett Crochet seems like a perfect fit for the Brew Crew. In 105 innings this season, he has a 3.08 ERA and 2.43 FIP while striking out 146 batters. He's making the league minimum salary this year and has 2 more years of team control after this year. He just turned 25 years old and fits perfectly into the Brewers' timeline of future contention. While the price will be very high to trade for him, the Brewers have a logjam of young outfielders in the major league team and a solid farm system to go along with. I think they're one of the few teams that'll be willing to part ways with their top young players in exchange for Crochet due to where the team currently stands. The 6th trade that I predict will happen is Tanner Scott to the New York Yankees. The Yankees bullpen was one of the best in baseball to start the year, but has really struggled as of recent. Overall, their left-handed relievers have posted an ERA of 4.5 this season, which won't get it done in the playoffs. Neither Caleb Ferguson or Tim Hill are relievers the team can rely on in big situations, so the team definitely needs to get a shutdown left-handed reliever at the deadline. They also DFA'd Victor Gonzalez a few weeks ago, one of their other left-handed arms, so they definitely need to make a trade for one by the deadline. Tanner Scott seems like an obvious fit to me. He's on the last year of a 1-year contract with the Marlins and won't cost more than a few mid-level prospects to acquire at most. He's posted an awesome 1.42 ERA this season, but left-handed hitters have a batting average under 100 against him. Last season, Scott was very good, and his advanced analytics showed that he was one of the best pitchers in all baseball. His only somewhat weakness is that he occasionally struggles to find the strike zone, but when he's on, he's absolutely elite. If the Yankees do make this trade, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they try to make him their closer. Clay Holmes has been a bit shaky lately, and Scott has been the Marlins closer for 3 years now. With how close the AL East division race is right now with the Orioles, I think this move for Tanner Scott could be the difference in a division title or a wildcard spot. The 7th trade that I predict will happen is Tommy Pham to the Philadelphia Phillies. While I expected the Phillies to be very good this year, I didn't anticipate them having the best record in baseball going into the All-Star break. As good as they've been this year, they're still going to add at the trade deadline. Looking at the roster, the only somewhat weakness they have currently is in left field, where they've been platooning Whit Merrifield and David Dahl for most of the season. Dahl just got DFA'd earlier this week, and Merrifield has posted a 574 OPS against left-handed pitching this season, and that's just not getting it done. For these reasons, I think the Phillies trading for Tommy Pham makes a lot of sense. He's had a solid season for the White Sox this year and has destroyed left-handed pitching, putting up a 788 OPS against them. Pham also has a career 846 OPS in the postseason, as he's known for turning his game up a notch in October. He's only making $3 million this year before hitting free agency at the end of the season, so he's the perfect target for a luxury tax team like the Phillies. Given that he's also a pure rental, he won't cost the Phillies more than a top 10 prospect in a trade. With how little holes the Phillies have in their team, and given they're already one of the best teams in baseball, I don't see them making a big splash at the deadline, and I think trading for Pham might be all this team needs for another deep playoff run. The 8th trade that I predict will happen is Brent Rooker to the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are a pretty tough team to predict when it comes to their deadline plans. They probably aren't going to catch the Phillies in the NL East, but they're also pretty clearly the best non-division winner in the National League. While Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. are both out for the rest of the season, Alex Anthopoulos is still going to find ways to make this team better. I don't see them trading for a superstar. I see them making moves around the edges, just like they did at the 2021 trade deadline when they traded for Jorge Soler, Adam Duvall, Jock Peterson, and Eddie Rosario. In my opinion, Brent Rooker perfectly fits into that mold of players that the team will look to acquire. He spent the first 3 years of his career from 2020 to 2022 across 3 different teams before being claimed off of waivers by the A's in November of 2022. Since then, the 29-year-old journeyman has been one of the best stories in baseball. Out of nowhere in 2023, Rooker hit 30 home runs and 20 doubles while posting an .817 OPS. So far in 2024, he's been even better. In 77 games, he's hit 18 home runs and 15 doubles while posting an .890 OPS. As incompetent as the A's front office is, I think they are going to trade Rooker by the deadline. He still has 3 years of team control after the season and is making the league minimum salary right now. The Braves starting left fielder right now is Ramon Laureano, and I doubt the team is comfortable with him as a starter in the postseason. While Rooker's primarily been a designated hitter this season, outfield is his natural position, and he's not a bad fielder. Adam Duvall is a free agent at the end of the year, so Rooker can either be a starter next season or a platoon piece with Jared Kelenic. I think this trade makes a ton of sense for the Braves. The 9th trade that I predict will happen is Cal Quantrill to the San Diego Padres. The Padres have really heated up lately, and given that they've already traded for Luis Arraez this season, it's safe to say that they'll be buyers at the trade deadline. Their biggest weakness right now is definitely their starting pitching. Yu Darvish has been out since May 30th with a strained groin, and Joe Musgrove has been out since May 29th with elbow inflammation. Dylan Cease has been just okay for them this season, as he hasn't been the dependable ace they hoped they traded for. Michael King has had his ups and downs, but he's been about what the Padres expected him to be. Matt Waldron has given the Padres some quality innings all season long, but I don't know if they're comfortable with him starting a playoff game. Outside of those guys, they currently have 2 underperforming rookies in their starting rotation, and they'll almost certainly look to bolster that rotation by the trade deadline. Cal Quantrill seems like a very good fit to me. He was previously a first-round pick of the Padres back in 2016, and was eventually traded to the Indians in exchange for Mike Clevenger. Quantrill's in his first season with the Rockies right now, and has been very good. He's recorded almost 3 BWAR while posting an ERA of 3.77 in 18 starts. For pitching in hitter-friendly Colorado half the time, those numbers are absolutely fantastic. Quantrill's only making $6.5 million this season and still has 1 year left of arbitration after this year. For a team that has really trimmed down their payroll last offseason, that dollar amount should definitely suffice for the Padres. I also think the Padres aren't going to be willing to part with any of their top prospects at the deadline because that Juan Soto trade is looking terrible right now. Given that, a move for a quality pitcher like Quantrill is more likely than a trade for an ace. The Padres should definitely consider making this move. The 10th and final trade that I predict will happen is JJ Bleday to the Pittsburgh Pirates. You're probably thinking the A's shouldn't trade one of their best young players and wondering why the Pirates are going to be buyers, but hear me out. While it's taken Bleday a long time to become a solid major leaguer after being drafted 4th overall in 2019, he's had a pretty solid year for the A's. In 90 games, he's had 11 home runs and 22 doubles, posting a .737 OPS and recording 1.9 BWAR. While his play has declined a bit as of late, he's put together a nice season in a year where tons of top hitters have struggled offensively. While he's only 26 and still has 4 years of team control after this year, I think the A's are going to trade him now for a few reasons. The A's have the 4th pick in this upcoming MLB draft and are likely to take one of the very talented hitters in the draft class, such as Charlie Condon or Braden Montgomery. 8 of their top 10 prospects are also position players, as they're really thin on pitching in the minor leagues. I know those statements sound like they contradict each other, but these top college bats are so good that I don't think they'll pass on the chance to draft one of them. The Pirates, on the other hand, are the exact opposite of the A's. 4 of their top 5 prospects are pitchers, and they already have Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and Mitch Keller for the foreseeable future. Their current MLB team is the 3rd worst overall OPS in the league, and are somehow only 4 games out of a wildcard spot. For these reasons, I think a trade of Bleday for one of the Pirates' top pitching prospects makes a ton of sense. This deal would help the Pirates not only this season, but also for at least 4 more seasons, and the A's would get much needed pitching help in their farm system as they build for the future. I think if the A's part with Bleday, and the Pirates want to turn their pitching prospects into young position players, this is the type of trade that both teams should consider. Thank you guys for watching the video. It's good to be back making content, and I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below with your predictions for the trade deadline. Just in case you were wondering, I didn't include any trades featuring the Blue Jays, Rangers, Astros, and Mets because I honestly don't know what they're going to do at the deadline. While the Blue Jays will probably sell, I wouldn't be surprised if they stand pat and try to run it back next season. Again, thank you if you made it this far in the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.